Swapping a rent check for a room key and saving money in the process. Yes, it's a thing, and no, it's not a gimmick. Good evening. Checking out of the housing market and checking in to hotel living.
Just when you thought Toronto's real estate reality couldn't get any more surreal, taking alternative accommodation to a whole new level. CTV's Allison Hurst is live with our top story. Allison.
This type of living may not be for everyone, but for a certain type of renter or on a temporary basis, it is certainly several $100s cheaper per month, and everything is included. The room is simple, with a bed, bathroom, microwave, and fridge. There's no kitchen, but it costs hundreds of dollars less to rent each month than the average one-bedroom in Toronto.
There is no credit checks. There is no nothing. You come in, you pay today, you pay a $500 deposit.
The price, $2,000 a month, compared to the average monthly rate for a one-bedroom in Toronto, which was $2,600 in November.
You've got gym membership included. You've got indoor-outdoor pool included. You've got Wi-Fi included. Your cable's included. Your parking is included. You can have room service. You get housekeeping once per week.
The Toronto Don Valley Hotel and Suites general manager Kevin Porter says roughly 60 of his 350 rooms have been set aside for this deal. He says he started it during the pandemic, and some residents have been living here for years.
Right now, I've got about 18 of those occupied.
Meaning there are still rooms available at a time when finding housing can be a challenge.
Given the cost of renting in this city, for a certain segment of the population, it'll make a whole lot of sense.
This tourism and hospitality professor says there's some risk to it.
You're not signing leases in the same way. But it's also then a risk for the hotel because, once again, chances are you're not doing the same vetting a landlord would.
Today, the Prime Minister sat down with renters in the GTA and was talking about the need for affordable housing in communities across the country.
When it comes to housing, there is no one-size-fits-all solution. For renters, on top of expanding access to low-cost federal financing, we're removing the GST from new rental construction projects.
But building takes time, and while this size and style may not fit all renters in Toronto, it could be an option, even temporarily, for some. The manager says that they have increased the price from $1,800 a month to $2,000, but he promises he's going to try and keep it the lowest rent in the city. Reporting live, I'm Allison Hurst. Nathan, back to you.
All right, thank you, Allison. This comes as new figures on Canada's economy are taking some analysts by surprise. Stats Canada says the country's GDP dropped unexpectedly in the third quarter by 1.1%. That's down from slight increases in the first half of the year. The slowdown will be another key data point for consideration by the Bank of Canada next week as policymakers plan their next move on interest rates. Governor Tiff Macklem says there needs to be clear evidence inflation is heading towards target before higher rates can ease off.
Next to proposed changes, the Doug Ford government says are aimed at supporting victims of crime.
Reforms to speed up the legal process being one example, along with another rule change dealing with a potential problem the province admits it didn't even know we had. CTV's Queen's Park Bureau Chief Siobhan Morris is live with more. Siobhan.
So, Nathan, when parents pick a daycare, I'm sure they're looking at things like the training of the staff, what health and safety precautions are in place, what kind of activities are on offer. Probably not considering whether or not there's cannabis being grown in the home. The Attorney General says that shouldn't be a factor when picking a daycare, and he wants to take that off the table.
Their places parents entrust with the well-being of their precious kids. Now the government is adding protections at in-home childcare centers in a way the Attorney General admits he hadn't thought of before.
We're proposing to ban the cultivation of recreational cannabis in both licensed and unlicensed homes offering childcare services.
Downey points out BC has similar legislation, but can't say exactly where. We've seen pot plants around the corner from playmats in Ontario.
This came up because there were issues, surprisingly.
The government's trying to speed up one measure of justice for victims of particular crimes.
Victims of acts of terrorism, human trafficking, related offenses, motor vehicle theft, and hate crimes that target clergy and places of worship
would be able to sue convicted offenders without having to prove emotional distress. That process
can take quite a long time and require hiring experts and undergo specific psychiatric and psychological assessments, which can be embarrassing and unpleasant.
Right now, when a construction worker dies on the job, that death is reviewed in a coroner's inquest, but sometimes many years after the fact. Instead, the government's proposing annual reviews of construction site deaths.
We think when we group like cases together, then there'll be lessons learned and overarching conclusions that will be found.
And those conclusions can be acted on sooner. For the opposition, it's what's missing from the legislation that's troubling.
There's nothing in that bill that's going to deal with the real issue in our justice system right now, which is the massive backlog of cases.
A backlog and staffing shortage that have led to some sexual assault cases being thrown out.
Any lost case due to time is very upsetting.
It's a problem Downey says he's tackling with urgency.
We've invested $72 million in a criminal case backlog. We're working with the judiciary. We are staffing up.
And promises to keep at it so victims can feel comfortable turning to the justice system.
Also part of this legislation, the government's looking at doubling the number of pot shops that cannabis retailers can run from 75 to 150. The government hasn't been able to tell us if that will actually mean you'll be seeing more pot shops near you soon. Reporting live from Queen's Park, I'm Siobhan Morris. Nathan and Michelle, back to you.
Thank you, Siobhan. Also tonight, in an emergency, you dial 911. But now, if you are in mental distress, struggling with suicidal thoughts, there's a new 3-digit number to call in Canada. Well, it happens to be the very last day of November, and in these final hours of the month, we're fortunate. It really doesn't feel like it. We're treated to mild temperatures and earlier a solid dose of sunshine. Hopefully you had a moment or two to enjoy it today. Our Lindsay Morrison is here now live in Halton Hills at the Premium Outlets as our Toy Mountain campaign takes us there tonight. Lindsay, how's the evening air?
Yeah, the evening's looking just as lovely, Michelle, as the day was. Yes, we had a beautiful day. We had sunshine. We ended up making it to a high of 10 degrees here in the city of Toronto. Not bad for the end of November. Let's take a look at where things stand right now. Temperature-wise, it is still comfortable, but it's worth mentioning that the winds are quite gusty. They're going to continue to come out of the southwest, quite strong, in fact. So it's going to feel a little bit cooler than that temperature suggests. Winds close to 60 kilometers per hour right now in Niagara Falls. Overnight, we dropped to a low near 3 degrees. That's close to our average daytime high at this time of year. We also have the chance of drizzle or showers once we move past midnight, but the main event comes tomorrow. It is going to be a little bit of a soggy start to the month of December, so we'll talk about that coming up. And you're right, we're live here in Halton Hills at the Toronto Premium Outlets. We are building a toy and it's going to be a really fun night. So hopefully you stay tuned through the hour. For now, Michelle and Nathan, we'll send it back inside to you.
All right, see you soon. Thanks, Lindsay. And if these chillier temperatures aren't your thing, a trip through Pearson might be on the horizon in the next few months.
The airport getting ready to welcome all of those keen travelers. Here's CTV's Janice Golding.
Holiday travel can try the patience of the best of us.
Around Christmas time, what's it like?
Very crazy. Mostly when we had the snow and the storm.
If they're backed up they were last year for American Thanksgiving, they'll be in trouble.
They need to do get more staff in for the holiday season, because last time I was here to drop my wife off in an Air India flight, it was a mess here.
And this year, Toronto Pearson is predicting it will have a 6% increase in flights, 10% more passengers, and 20% more baggage to deal with. Increased demand at a time winter weather can make things challenging.
Ultimately, it is winter, and one thing we can't control is the weather. We have seen that weather is more severe and impactful.
So to try to minimize the impact of higher volumes, Toronto Pearson is taking a proactive approach this holiday season. They've increased staffing, expanded de-icing capacities, and operations staff.
We have been drilling, practicing, innovating with new techniques on equipment and approaches to snow management.
Pearson has the largest de-icing facility in Canada, which is capable of treating 60 aircraft per hour. It's now also using predictive technology to analyze weather patterns and determine potential delays. Beyond that,
this season we've significantly enhanced our snow removal capability. We've added about 25 pieces of equipment to our 120 plus fleet. That specialized equipment includes snow plows, tractors, spreaders, blowers.
While some people can and do routinely avoid holiday travel,
we beat the rush, which is, a better way to do it.
I think it should be a lot more organized. I don't travel on the holidays.
Then
travel will be before the holidays or after New Year's.
For those who can't avoid making a trip this winter, Pearson says it is as ready as it can be to get you where you need to be. Janice Golding, CTV News.
Meantime, the Canada Border Services Agency says it made a significant drug bust at Pearson. The CBSA says 14 kilograms of suspected cocaine was seized from a commercial aircraft at the airport. It was discovered in 12 packages in the plane's rear cargo hold earlier this month. The agency says the drugs are estimated to be worth about $1.8 million.
An elderly man is in hospital after being struck by a vehicle today. The CTV News chopper was over the scene at Jane and Maple Leaf Drive near Black Creek Drive. This was at around 10 this morning. According to police, the victim was taken to a trauma center by emergency run with life-threatening injuries. The driver remained on scene. No word yet on any charges. Roads in the area were closed for the investigation, but reopened during the noon hour.
Voters in one part of Toronto are at the polls today.
Choosing a new councillor in Scarborough Southwest, and we should know the winner in just a couple of hours. CTV's Mike Walker is live with more. Mike.
Well, Nathan, Michelle, for the first time in more than a decade, voters here in Scarborough Southwest will be electing someone new to be their voice at City Hall, and the field is crowded. 23 candidates are vying to fill the vacant seat for Ward 20. The by-election was triggered after longtime councillor and former Toronto Budget Chief Gary Crawford resigned in the summer to run for the Progressive Conservatives in a provincial by-election, but fell short. Crawford had represented this area for 13 years. Now, this evening, there's been a steady stream of voters casting their ballots here at the Birchmount Community Centre. They tell us there are several issues in the ward, including improving transit, building more affordable housing, and increasing social and support services. Now, the city says there are more than 78,000 eligible voters in the ward. During advance voting over the weekend, more than 4,300 ballots were cast. The polls are open until 8 tonight, and shortly after, a winner will be declared. Reporting live, I'm Mike Walker. Back to you.
All right. Thank you, Mike. We've seen the tracks, the trains, and many of the stations, but as the year comes to an end, we still don't know when the Eglinton Crosstown will be ready for passengers.
Back in September, you might remember, Metrolink CEO promised an update on the project every 2 months. Here's what he told the transit agency's board at a meeting today.
We will announce an opening date for Eglinton Crosstown 3 months before opening day. We are not there yet. We are making sure everything was built right and operates correctly and safely. And our contractor, CTS, is finding issues that must be fixed before we can open Eglinton Crosstown for safe and reliable passenger services.
Phil Verster said there's ongoing collaboration with the consortium building the east-west line, as well as the TTC. The opposition brought up the ongoing delays at Queen's Park.
This government seems to be confused, Speaker, rather like the federal government. They have great ideas about aspirational transit that might come one day, transit that is $1 billion over budget in this particular project and 3 years late.
We're making a difference here for the people in Toronto and the GTA and right across this province. We're going to continue building transit. As you vote no against every single transit project, we're going to keep moving forward.
The NDP also called for Verster's removal from his role. The Metrolink CEO, meanwhile, said members of the media will get a first-hand look at the nearly complete Yonge station at Yonge and Eglinton next month.
It's potentially life-saving, offering help to Canadians from coast to coast. Today, a new nationwide mental health crisis hotline was launched. People in every province and territory will be able to call or text 988 to access mental health and suicide prevention support.
This line, at the end of the day, is really about meeting each and every one of the Canadians who are struggling across our country, where they are and when they need us.
We know across Canada we have had these services and we know that they work. So 988 really provides a way to bring that service together and make it easier to access.
Those who need support will be connected with a trained responder, with most calls or texts being answered by someone living in the same region. The program runs 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, all free of charge. It's expected the hotline will receive between 600,000 and 700,000 calls in the first year. And you can find more information on our website, ctvnewstoronto.ca, and by downloading the CTV News app.
Climate change is a concern for many, and some young activists are taking matters into their own hands.
Calling for the creation of a new program so they can add their voices to the discussion. CTV's Beth McDonnell reports.
3, 2, 1. Climate War! With 630 signed mock cover letters in hand, a group of young people gathered outside Federal Minister of Youth Marcy Ian's office to deliver their message. It's time for Canada to launch a youth climate corps.
And we needed it yesterday. Let our demands reverberate in the corridors of power, demanding and compelling our leaders to act with urgency that this crisis demands.
To make the corps a reality, they want Ottawa to spend $1 billion to start allowing the 1.3 million youth between 18 and 35 in Canada to take part in a paid 2-year program that would provide training in jobs such as restoring ecosystems, responding to disasters, and building new climate infrastructure. They argue internships, many of which are unpaid, simply do not do enough for youth to access jobs making a difference.
We believe that meeting the climate emergency requires something much more grand, and we envision a government program that turns no one away, for which the only requirement to entry is the desire to sign on.
24-year-old Nicola Rodata-Smith has a master's in science and sustainability, but she says it's not enough to land a position offering financial stability.
There are a lot of companies hiring, but it's in industries that are causing kind of more of the harm than good. So I'm more interested in working for more ethical green jobs.
The event comes as COP28 gets underway in Dubai, the United Nations conference on tackling climate change. The UN says 2023 is set to be the world's hottest on record. Activists say a similar program was launched in the United States this year with 20,000 available positions, and demand soared, with 40,000 signing up.
It wouldn't just be great for the economy, but it would allow young people like me a chance to make a difference in our local communities.
Members of Ian's staff accepted the mock cover letters. CTV News has reached out to her office and the department overseeing youth issues, but didn't receive a reply before our deadline. Beth McDonnell, CTV News.
As COP28 got underway, its host nation announced a major step towards compensating countries coping with damage caused by climate change.
We reached north of $420 million only in the first hour. And I know that over the next couple of days, many more pledges and many more commitments are going to be made by different heads of states and different heads of governments.
The funding could mark a major early achievement for the climate talks. Critics have been skeptical about hosting COP28 in a country that plays a key role in the fossil fuel industry. In the Middle East, a last-minute extension of the truce between Israel and Hamas has allowed for more hostages to be released in exchange for Palestinian detainees.
But there are many questions about how much longer this fragile pause may last. CTV's Heather Wright reports.
Minutes before the truce was set to expire, an extension, for now by 1 day only. But it did allow more hostages to be freed and more Palestinians to be released from Israeli jails. Among the hostages is Mia Shem, who reunited with her mother after returning to Israel. Shem was kidnapped from the Nova Music Festival on October 7th and was seen having her arm treated in the first hostage video released by Hamas. On day 7, this fragile truce is now shakier than ever, following an Israeli raid in the occupied West Bank on Wednesday that killed 2 boys, in a shooting in Jerusalem this morning that killed 3 people, a school principal, a pregnant teacher, and a 73-year-old rabbi.
I have not the words what to take.
The victims were shot near a bus stop. Officials say the gunmen are brothers and members of the armed wing of Hamas. This is the same Hamas, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said, vowing to continue this war until the terror group is eradicated. In Gaza, the painstaking search for more victims continues, often by hand. The pause has allowed crews to comb through rubble, looking for some of the thousands still believed to be buried under collapsed buildings. There's no stability for us, this woman says, no peace of mind. An estimated 1.7 million people are displaced within Gaza, living in schools, hospitals, and makeshift camps.
It has gone beyond what we call humanitarian crisis. It is a humanitarian catastrophe.
U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken is in the region, meeting with Israeli and Palestinian officials, discussing concerns about a possible return to fighting in Gaza. Some of the steps outlined by Blinken include designating a safe zone where civilians can go, avoiding significant displacement, and giving Gazans the option to go to the north if they wish. Heather Wright, CTV News, Toronto.
At least 2 people were killed and 10 wounded after an overnight Russian missile attack in East Ukraine. A family of 3 is also believed to be trapped under rubble in the Donetsk region following the attack. This is according to Ukrainian officials. Rescue workers have been working throughout the night to locate any other people that could be under the debris. In Russia, the country's Supreme Court has ruled that LGBTQ2S+ activists should be designated as extremists. The court approved a request from the Justice Ministry to recognize what it called the international LGBT social movement as extremist and to ban its activities. The move is part of a pattern of increasing restrictions in Russia on expressions of sexual orientation and gender identity, including laws outlining the promotion of, quote, non-traditional sexual relations.
Canada and the United States have finalized a deal for Ottawa to buy up to 16 new military patrol aircraft from Boeing. The Poseidon fleet will replace Canada's existing Aurora planes.
Originally procured in the early 1980s, the Aurora will have been in service for almost half a century when it reaches its scheduled retirement in 2030. And meanwhile, our adversaries have been deploying increasingly sophisticated, stealthy, and lethal capabilities.
Defense Minister Bill Blair said the Boeing planes are the only ones available that meet the military's needs. The deal is valued at $10.4 billion, with the first Poseidon delivery expected in 2026.
There's a new battle brewing between Saskatchewan and Ottawa over the federal carbon tax. Premier Scott Moe says it won't be collected from families in his province who use electric heat. Moe said he wasn't concerned about any consequences from his decision. He compared it to the federal move to exempt heating oil in Atlantic Canada from the carbon tax. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau said all Canadians are expected to follow the law and, quote, that applies to provinces as much as it applies to individual citizens.
The White House weighed in on allegations against an Indian government official accused of directing an unsuccessful assassination plot on U.S. soil.
We take this very seriously. These allegations and this investigation take it very seriously. And we're glad to see that the Indians are too, by announcing their own efforts to investigate this.
U.S. federal prosecutors said 52-year-old Nikhil Gupta worked with an Indian government employee to try and assassinate a Sikh activist in New York City. The case has drawn comparisons to claims mentioned by Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. He cited evidence of credible links between the Indian government and the killing of a Sikh activist in Canada. India denied involvement, but diplomatic ties have soured since.
In Washington tonight, members of the House of Representatives will vote on whether to expel embattled Republican Congressman George Santos.
This is what it looks like to me. It is a predetermined necessity for some members in this body to engage in this smear campaign to destroy me.
Santos survived an expulsion vote last month while facing criminal campaign finance charges. Since then, a bipartisan probe found he used campaign money on Botox, luxury brands, and online subscriptions. The first-term congressman from New York has denied wrongdoing. Well, he was one of America's most high-profile diplomats.
Accomplished and controversial. Tonight, tributes are pouring in for former U.S. Secretary of State Henry Kissinger, who died yesterday at the age of 100. CTV's Joy Malbin reports.
Thank you. Nice to see you all.
Henry Kissinger once famously said power is the ultimate aphrodisiac.
What remains to be done?
In his time as America's top diplomat, he wielded that power to reshape U.S. foreign policy. From masterminding the détente policy that thawed the Cold War with the Soviet Union, to opening the door to Mao's communist China, spearheading then Richard Nixon's historic trip, considered Kissinger's crowning achievement. And just this past summer, at the age of 100, he received the red carpet treatment, meeting now President Xi Jinping.
There is no country in the world where it is conceivable that a man of my origins could be standing here next to the President of the United States.
Serving under Nixon and then Gerald Ford, Kissinger was born in Germany. His Jewish family fled the Nazis in 1938. Arriving in America at just 15, he couldn't speak a word of English. Serving in the Army, he loved his new country and felt a duty to serve.
Peace is at hand.
Kissinger negotiated an end to the Vietnam War peace with the Communist North, for which he won the Nobel Peace Prize.
Nothing that has happened to me in public life has moved me more than this award.
Revered, but also reviled. Some called him a war criminal for carpet bombing Cambodia, prolonging the Vietnam War, and supporting right-wing dictators. He called himself a realist. Kissinger's influence and charm made him an international celebrity, even a pop culture icon. A swinging bachelor until he met his second wife, Nancy. The statesman consulted for corporate clients. But his advice was sought after by just about every president, helping to shape world affairs long after he left the White House. Joy Malbon, CTV News, Washington.
Is an out-of-this-world discovery. A solar system with 6 planets orbiting a bright star has been spotted 100 light years from Earth. The planets are all orbiting the star in gravitational lockstep. For example, it takes exactly twice as much time for planet B to rotate around the sun as planet A. The newly discovered worlds are hot, gassy, and are not considered in the habitable zone.
Coming up, bye-bye mustaches. The moment has arrived. After a month of facial hair growth, upper lips are re-emerging and the dollars for men's health are being tallied. Wrapping up a month of awareness, still ahead.
And I'm Pat Foran, coming up on Consumer Alert. With the price of new and used cars these days, buying a vehicle is a big decision. You want one that'll stay out of the repair shop. Consumer Reports says their annual list of the most reliable vehicles, and some results may surprise you. I'll have my reports. That's just ahead.
We are helping the Salvation Army build a mountain of toys, and we've got some special guests here. We have Halton Regional Police, we have local counselors, and we have the mayor of Halton Hills, Ann Lawler. Thanks for welcoming us to your community tonight.
Well, you know, it's thrilling that you're here and that the Salvation Army and Toronto Premium Outlets has encouraged us to build this toy mountain. I'm here with my polar bear puppet, wanting to contribute. And, you know, Halton Hills is a small community. We've got a huge heart, though, and for TPO and the Salvation Army to give us this great opportunity to give is all about Christmas and all about our holiday season. So welcome and thanks very much to Salvation Army and to TPO.
Thank you, Anne. And Helena, we just want to say thank you for having us at the Toronto Premium Outlets. People can drop off their gifts here if they choose to.
They can.
With new and used vehicle prices at record highs and rising interest rates, you want to make the right choice when you buy your next car.
A new survey from Consumer Reports has determined which vehicles are the most reliable, and also some troubling news about electric cars. Here's Pat Foran and today's Consumer Alert. Pat.
Thanks, Michelle and Nathan. There is a huge push to go green and buy electric vehicles, but the new survey finds many people who bought electric cars are having trouble with them, even more issues than gas-powered cars. The best choice now may be a hybrid. Every year, Consumer Reports surveys hundreds of thousands of its members, asking them simple but important questions. What problems have they had with their vehicles in the past year?
Everything from the engine to transmission issues, leaks, paint and trim problems. And with EVs growing in popularity, we ask electric car owners about battery and charging issues. And then we can crunch those numbers to calculate the predicted reliability of new and also used cars, almost every car in the market.
Lexus and Toyota took the top spots for brand reliability, followed by Mini, Acura, Honda, and Subaru. And while EVs are growing in popularity, owners of electric vehicles experience 79% more problems with their EVs compared to gas-powered cars. EV trouble spots include issues with charging, electric motors, and battery problems.
Our members are reporting the same issues with most EVs as they are with vehicles that have been designed brand new from the ground up, whether they're gas or electric. And EVs are about the newest technology out there, and it's taking a while even for established car makers to work through those growing pains.
But automakers seem to have worked out the growing pains for hybrid vehicles. Owners of hybrids say they've had 26% fewer problems on average than a gas-only car. And researchers found the type of vehicle you drive also matters. Sedans, along with hatchbacks and wagons, remain the most reliable vehicle types. Pickup trucks have been at the bottom of Consumer Reports reliability rankings for 7 of the past 8 years, with EV trucks coming in last this year. The survey found auto brands at the bottom of the reliability survey this year were Rivian, Mercedes-Benz, and Chrysler. And hybrid vehicles have been in use for 25 years, and many of their problems have been worked out. The same may happen with fully electric cars, but the survey could raise concerns for some who have been thinking of making the switch. On your side, I'm Pat Foran.
If you have a consumer story idea, email us at alert@ctv.ca.
Was the weather-wise best day of the week to be outside?
I think so, and it's such a treat as our Toy Mountain campaign moves across the GTA to have these mild conditions as we finalize November, and it looks like a great turnout there at Toronto Premium Outlets, Lindsay.
Yes, and Michelle and Nathan, speaking of treats, I have a couple of special guests here. I'm going to pass the torch, the Olympic torch, over to Andrea Case for a moment and Damian Warner.
Hey, everybody. I've got to say, first of all, Lindsay Morrison is a machine. She's been working so hard. I'm just here to help out a little bit today. But speaking of machines, we have Damian Warner, Olympic gold medalist, is here. Damian, you have a busy year ahead of you. The Olympics are next year. Why did you decide to come out and help the Toy Mountain?
Yeah, Christmas is such an amazing time of year, and I can still think of times when I woke up on Christmas morning and went through my toys and just with a smile on my face. And I think that during these times of years, there's a lot of people that wake up and they don't have that same opportunity. And with help from my sponsors, we're able to be here today and hopefully put some smiles on some kids' faces.
Okay, give a shout out to your sponsors.
Yeah, so the sponsors that have helped me here today is Canada Life and Sobeys. Their generosity has been huge, and I feel like I'm very blessed and very fortunate to work with such great sponsors and great people in my life, and I'm glad that we were able to come together and help out today.
Okay, real quick, you have a young son now, Theo, who's 2 years old. How is Christmas going to be special for Theo this year, without any spoilers?
Yeah, so last year he didn't really understand the concept of Christmas, but this year he understands everything. He wrote Santa a list of all the things that he wants, and yeah, he's very excited. So we're really looking forward to it this year, and it's going to be a very special year for us.
Erin Boyle is here, and she's going to be very excited because you have something for Erin.
Yes, we do.
What do you have?
So we have some gift cards here from Sobeys.
Wow.
So that'll be for you,
Thank
and you can distribute them to the people that need them, and it's a very cool day.
This is so amazing. Thank you so much. And this goes a long way. We're so appreciative to you and your sponsors and helping all of the children that are in need this Christmas. So thank you.
We did the math ahead of time, $25 each gift card, and I think it's $1,500 in total, 60 gift cards.
60 gift cards, and Canada Life, I think, was $2,500 as well. So, I hope it goes a long way, and I'm just very glad that we could be here today to help out.
Okay, everybody, don't forget to cheer for Damian next year, the Olympics in Paris, about 240 days away. So who's counting? We're counting. Thank you for coming. Lindsay, send it over to you.
Well, thank you. I think the weather's going to be a little bit warmer for those games than it is tonight. Even though we've had a pretty good night tonight, let's get to your forecast. Weather is brought to you by Train, the most reliable heating and cooling brand. It's hard to stop a train. We've had a lot of snow in recent days. Here's a look at the lake effect amounts. Gravenhurst, about 40 centimeters. Let's talk about this past November here in the city of Toronto. Yeah, we had about 3 centimeters of snow total, and now we've got some rain moving in for tomorrow. There's that low pressure system. Keep the umbrella handy. You'll need it as early as tomorrow morning. We're looking at anywhere from 5 to 15 millimeters. Some areas are going to see a little bit more than that as well. Timing wise, so again, heads up late morning, continuing through tomorrow afternoon, tapering off somewhat into the evening, and then we're back into some showers as we head into the day on Saturday. Bit of a mixing line. Higher elevations could see some wet snow as a result of this low pressure system too. Generally unsettled as we make our way through the weekend. Tonight's low is about 3 degrees. That's normally our daytime high at this time of year, so it's mild. Here's a look at what you can expect tomorrow, the first day of December, 5 degrees. But yes, it is going to be a little bit rainy. Temperatures right across the board in southern Ontario, warmer than average for the most part. And then your 7-day forecast looks like this. We're going to dry out next week, but temperatures are going to be a little bit cooler. We are building a mountain of toys tonight here at the Toronto Premium Outlets in Halton Hills. Just want to give a shout out to, who are you with?
My name is Kristen Hood, and this is Acom Core, and we're from Avado Company Stores.
Thank you for your beautiful contribution to Toy Mountain. This is absolutely amazing, and you may recognize this little friend over here, Elf on a Shelf. A huge thank you to Kid Mono for their contributions as well. We're going to send it back inside to you, Nathan and Michelle, for now. Lots more to come throughout the hour.
All right. Thank you, Lindsay. Also tonight, building blocks toward better mental health, promoting social interaction and creativity at a high school Lego club. We make the connection.
A group of Toronto students has been building their emotional resilience using a popular toy, Lego.
CTV's health reporter Pauline Chan tells us what started during the pandemic is still going strong.
The start of the pandemic was hard for Caleb Filicetti when he entered St. Basil the Great College in grade 9, especially because he was used to a large extended family.
Most of the time we were distant and I couldn't hug them, so it was hard for me for that.
And it was even harder for Andrew Jahour, who was also starting at the school but doing remote classes to protect his elderly grandparents' health.
I didn't really make a lot of friends due to me being the only one that was online, everyone else in class. And I guess the Lego Club kind of helped me.
Because we were all experiencing the same thing, we all kind of just knew how to be around with each other. We made a lot of good friendships and built a lot of cool stuff to interact with each other.
Even the staff noticed the difference in mental health for members of the Lego Club.
It's been really great because across grades and abilities, students were able to mentor each other. They were able to establish connections. They were able to bring out their creativity and design skills and really build interpersonal skills.
One of their big projects last year was this model of the school crest, built with more than 10,000 pieces and now showcased at the school's entrance. Caleb designed it using a computer program.
We were trying to build a jet right now. I think they're still trying to find pieces for it.
As for what happens when Caleb graduates, he's hoping his brother will be coming to the school and ensure that the Lego Club continues. Pauline Chan, CTV News.
The CAA says it is seeing a sizable jump in cannabis impaired driving in Ontario, and a lot of that increase is coming from edibles. The association says out of all cannabis impaired drivers surveyed, 38% had consumed edibles before getting behind the wheel. That's a 12% increase from the year before. Meanwhile, the CAA said 7% of all Ontario drivers admit to driving after consuming some form of drug, another increase. No matter how cannabis is consumed, it is illegal to drive while high.
Some sad news tonight from the entertainment world. Shane MacGowan, the lead singer of the Irish punk band The Pogues, has died at the age of 65.
Got on a lucky one, came in like 10 to 1.
The hauntingly bittersweet ballad Fairy Tale of New York brought the band's unique fusion of traditional Irish music and punk to a huge new audience. MacGowan battled drug and alcohol abuse for years and was fired by the Pogues at the height of their popularity.
As mentioned last night, Taylor Swift is Spotify's most streamed artist of the year, and she celebrated this news with a single release. Swift's song, You're Losing Me, only appeared on a special edition of her album Midnights, but the singer shared it on streaming platforms in reaction to that Spotify news. She wrote in part on Instagram, "This is unreal. I just wanted to say to anyone who listened to my music this year, anywhere in the world, thank you."
Meanwhile, YouTube is sharing its 2023 ranking of Canada's most watched music videos. Miley Cyrus claimed the top spot with her video for Flowers. Country singer Morgan Wallen got silver with his track Last Night. And in third place was 52 Bars, a Punjabi language track from Karen Ojla. YouTube says 3 of its top 10 music videos in Canada were in Punjabi.
The Stars Tonight is brought to you by Lastman's Bad Boys court-approved liquidation sale.
Got plans for a holiday dinner? A new study reveals it's going to cost you more this year. This isn't the footage for it, but guess what? We'll tell you just how much you can expect to fork out for 4 to 6 people. That's coming up after the break. Can't eat that.
For a certain segment of the population, it'll make a whole lot of sense.
Updating our top stories as the average rent for a one-bedroom apartment hits $2,600 in Toronto. Some hotels are offering rooms for significantly less per month. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau was in the GTA today highlighting Ottawa's efforts to help renters, but he said there's no one-size-fits-all solution.
We're proposing to ban the cultivation of recreational cannabis in both licensed and unlicensed homes offering childcare services.
The province is rolling out a number of proposed changes to Ontario's justice system. If passed, the legislation would set new rules around growing cannabis and update policies on construction worker death inquests. It would also become easier for victims of certain crimes to sue convicted offenders for emotional distress.
We have been drilling, practicing, innovating with new techniques on equipment and approaches to snow management.
And Toronto's Pearson Airport is gearing up for a busy winter travel season after disruptions and delays seen last year. The GTAA says it can't control the weather, but it is stepping up efforts to clear snow, get planes de-iced, and analyze weather patterns to determine delays.
Remember to keep up to date day and night through our website, ctvnewstoronto.ca, and by downloading the CTV News app. And if you have a news tip, photos, or video of breaking news, let us know.
On the markets, the Canadian dollar is up slightly to $73.70 U.S. American benchmark oil is down $1.90 to close at $75.96 U.S. a barrel. And the TSX Composite Index is adding 120 points to 20,236.
A new study finds the rising cost in food won't be taking a break for the holidays. The Agri-Food Lab at Dalhousie University estimates a holiday dinner for 4 to 6 people will cost nearly $105 this year. The traditional Christmas meal ingredients have all experienced price increases in recent months. Turkey's up about 5%, potatoes up 6.6%, while carrots have risen a whopping 13%. The Agri-Food Lab believes some will choose lower-cost alternatives such as ham instead of turkey. Just ahead, losing the mustache but growing awareness. The campaign to change the face of men's health comes to an end as Movember wraps up with a fundraising shave-off.
Tonight, dialing into the critical need for mental health support.
We don't want people struggling with those thoughts alone.
Reaction and relief as Canada rolls out the new national hotline for suicide prevention. Later on CTV National News.
Finally, tonight, there are some upper lips that feel a little bit cooler tonight.
The end of Movember for another year, raising awareness and money for men's health. Here's CTV's John Musselman.
For some of these men, it was a bit of a relief to finally say goodbye to their facial hair.
My wife is definitely happy about this.
Paramedic Brian Ennett says it took time getting used to it.
Really thick, and it gets the hairs, basically, you can, I don't know, as the barber can attest to, is the stubborn part of the face. Basically, it's pretty thick. It's thick.
Still, it was done for an important cause. Toronto Fire and paramedics all came together today for a collective shave-off after raising more than $50,000 for the Movember campaign. The campaign has taken on 3 of the biggest health issues affecting men: prostate cancer, testicular cancer, and mental health.
The secret behind the mustache is that it's a catalyst for conversation. So it gets conversations started that don't happen enough throughout the rest of the year by men and for men in support of their physical health and their mental health. As guys, we're not always the best at taking care of ourselves and being proactive in terms of doing the things we need to do to keep ourselves physically and mentally healthy. So that's the power of the mustache.
Local barber Jason Kalula used his skills and expertise to carefully remove the month-long hair growth.
I've always liked the straight blade. That's always it's old school, it's traditional, there's a tradition and a history to it.
I thought I wasn't used to it, but now I miss it, and it looks like something should be there, and it's gone.
November 30th marks the end of the 17th annual Movember campaign in Canada. John Musselman, CTV News.
Let's check in on Lindsay in Halton Hills. Linz.
Michelle, one more shout out. This is David from Cacao 70 who's made a fabulous donation to Toy Mountain. And look at these beautiful children celebrating tonight. It has been so much fun here in Halton Hills with the train. Let's take one more look at your 7-day forecast as we enter December. It's officially festive season, but we've got some wet weather to deal with for the beginning of it. Now we are here live building a Toy Mountain. It's been a wonderful night. Thanks for being here, Andrea.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
Nathan and Michelle, back to you.
Nice work, everybody. Thank you. Be sure to join Omar Sachedina tonight at 11 for CTV National News, followed by Zarada Allman with our next local newscast at 11:30.
In the meantime, our coverage continues anytime on CP24 and online at ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Lindsay and all of us at CTV News, thank you for watching and have a good night.